All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the OTOT Masterclass on Investing with Military Precision. It is Friday, June 26th, and we are going to talk about some logistics stocks today. But before we do, quick update on where the podcast stands. We have 6 members still in the squadron. Only that hasn't grown this week, so hopefully to get some growth maybe on the weekend. It'd be nice. I do have a couple conversations going. I'm out with 9 episodes now, put the 9th one out last night, and then we're up to 182 total downloads. I've been doing interviews. I did 2 yesterday. I have 1 later today, and I have several this weekend to get up to the 10 interviewees for the podcast launch, which is Wednesday. Again, all those episodes will drop at once, so hopefully that will generate some interest over the 4th of July weekend to get a couple more people in the room. For those that are new, make sure you open both the chat and the Q&A windows and select all attendees at the bottom so everybody can see what you're saying. Okay, so there's our standard mission objectives: grow our money, protect our money, live off our money. For our tactical objectives today, we're going to talk about logistics stocks, really kind of trucking, if you will, but also there's an airplane piece of that, of course. And then our academic topic of the day will be beta. If you haven't heard of that, you will know what it's all about today. For overall flow, we'll go long, short, open, short, long. We'll talk about the market review around the world. We'll go through some headline review for the day. There's our 6 names we're going to talk about, a couple of which you may not recognize. The others you will. And then we'll get into our day trading situation and execute that throughout the open, and then we will come back around for some Q&A at the end. As far as contingencies, if you're having any issues, email steve@otot.now and you will get an answer on those to help you out. And last, there are disclaimers at the bottom and make sure that this is, it's an educational material presentation, and you have to do your own due diligence before acting on anything that you see here. All right, with that, let's go up to TD Ameritrade. We're going to zoom out to take a look at the 1-year chart. And there's where we've been, focusing all the way into the right on that channel. We were right at the bottom of the channel yesterday when it started, but we actually closed with a green candlestick. So we are still in the channel. That's important to only technical chartists. But again, 300 is kind of that magic level. You would not want to see it dip below that. And with the futures down, we might today. We shall see. Let's zoom in on the last 5 days, if you will. All right, so there was our action. I'll just talk about yesterday. We did have that move up after opening in the red there. And then the futures started up and then went down, then kind of up and down. So that is a big, who knows what's about to happen today. Not trying to make an epic call on a Friday. All right, let's go over into the calendar. Trying to think, I did not make a note on earnings as far as anything that I saw moving. Let's go ahead and slide up one more if there's any available. Nope. Okay, nothing on the earnings front. Let's come down to CNBC and we will go around the world. Okay, you can see we're in the red across the board there. NASDAQ only in the green, in the red just a little bit. All right, we'll go to Europe. Europe in the green across the board, so pretty good news there coming out of Europe. Let's go to Asia. Asia was mixed, nothing super big there. Let's go over to yesterday in the US. You can see that's where we finished yesterday. Don't really know what the excitement was in the day other than it just sort of started melting up and then continued on. I can't really attribute that to a particular event though. The VIX at 32, so that's it's kind of a good news if it would settle down and drop below that. I don't really expect that to. I would imagine we'll see the VIX at 30 or over 30 pretty much through the election, to be honest. All right, we'll take a look at bonds. Didn't see much movement in there last time I checked. And we'll check at oil, just below that magic $40 point. Looking over at gold. A little bit in the red for gold, everything else in the green. So again, that's an option for you going into the election. We'll go back to the main pre-market screen, and then we will talk about some headlines. Yeah, I should have brought that about Nike, about earnings. Nike was the big one. They did miss earnings. I have not seen how that affected their stock. I'll pull that up on another screen real quick. Okay, so they are gapping down from 101 to 97. So again, Nike short, just make a note while I'm here. Okay, back to the review. We'll slide up. I see Lambo wrecked. I just have to click on that real quick down a little bit. There you go. Click on that. 20 minutes after leaving the showroom. So they're cried out for the day. A car, $500,000 car gets mortared out, leaving the showroom. Oh, that's terrible. Okay. So that was more of a fun headline than anything that'll move the market. Okay. Mortgage bailouts. Remember that we're about at that point where we talked yesterday, we're 3 months into this. So now's when, if people aren't paying, now's when it's kind of start actually, running into a situation where, people are going to start going after them. So we shall see probably more of these headlines about kind of an open kimono on who hasn't been paying their bills for the last few months. So we shall see. Cuomo, I don't know if this was meant to be a victory lap or not, but anyhow, he's going to throw in, after he made the declaration yesterday, he's closing to the other 9 states that have had the increase spike, if you will, in coronavirus. But his little comment there, you played politics with the virus and you lost. So, okay, still nobody's got the situation that you have there, Governor Cuomo. But anywho, okay. Obamacare is back in the news to get struck down. I think that is a non-issue. I don't think that will be upheld at all. That's more of a political move. The one on the right, though, I kind of like this move. So what happened is the Federal Reserve kind of has taken a long-term look about the stress test. And I see your comment there, Predator. So what I read this, and from what I got out of reading it fairly quickly, is if we get into a situation to where things start being stressed more so than they are now for the banks, that they're not going to be able to execute buybacks, and they're not going to be able to increase their dividend, or at a certain level, they won't even be able to pay out their dividend. They actually have to have earnings to be able to pay the dividend. Unlike some companies that have borrowed money to pay the dividend, not earnings, debt. So that's kind of the move there. I think that's all pretty smart. It is going to hit the bank stocks because your dividend could be in jeopardy in a crisis scenario. So we shall see. All right. I did not know Kanye was in the news. I missed that. I'm not following him on Twitter, and that's not going to change today. Tesla's had some negative headlines, and largely it's their workforce. That's not what this one's about, but they're complaining pretty significantly about they're being put in unsafe situations. We shall see. Talked about Nike at the bottom. We'll go ahead and just scroll up here. I don't see the headline yet, but we did see a personal income headline come across earlier this morning about personal income was down a little bit from what is expected. I believe was it. Yeah, we're starting to see the Biden's going to win in the news. So 4 months out, I would imagine we will see that all the way through the election. But just like we saw at the last election, that Hillary Clinton was going to win, and then we won't know until everybody votes. All right, I see that's the last one I'll talk about there is the market's comeback fate, second half determined by Congress. We shall see. I think we're pretty much going to flatline to into the election. You have obviously the positive names that are out there and the natural growth of an economy and the comeback and all that, balanced by largely the politics and what will happen if there is a change of the presidency and what will happen if there's a Democratic sweep across the board. So, okay, that is it for what we're going to look about at there in the headlines. So not moving the markets a whole lot, in my opinion, on the headlines. We'll go over to Schwab and take a look at our transportation stocks. And I use the term logistics stocks because that's a little more precise. So what you see here is you have Amazon, which you just can't leave out, even though they do subcontract to these other firms that you see on there. They are basically a logistics firm themselves with all their assets. So anyhow, you should be in Amazon. You should at least have a couple shares for every red-blooded American, because that is the wave of the future until they get broken up by the Department of Justice. So, and look at the volume on that. I always thought that was interesting. A lot of volume in Amazon for such a high price stock. A lot of times you'll see lower volume with the higher prices, but shares are moving. Okay, the next one across the board there is FedEx. You have FedEx there, and then you have UPS, middle left. The best description I'd ever heard from somebody was FedEx is an airplane company that has trucks, and UPS is a truck company that has airplanes. And that makes a lot of sense. Generally, FedEx is more desirable, best of breed, better run kind of stock. However, in this particular coronavirus pandemic, airplanes carry more risk than trucks do. So as far as being able to fly and all that sort of thing. So that's why I think we've seen the FedEx stock not really recover, where UPS, in a better situation, if you will. Okay, the next one there is R, which is Ryder. Ryder's I would say definitely outside, not best of breed, if you will. I would not own this for any reason, but I wanted to show you at least the chart there to show the difference between the better names and one that's not considered that good. Okay, we're going to go bottom right for the next one. That's TPOR. That's a transportation ETF. That was the closest one I could find to this. So that's obviously been crushed. Nobody wants to be in a transportation ETF. So when you look at that, from 30 bucks down to 5-ish, and it's still sitting at 10. I mean, that has just not recovered, and I would not buy it here either. I see nothing attractive with that. The next one we'll talk about is Workhorse. This is a new name. I think I've talked about it either just yesterday or 2 days in a row. I'm in it now. We'll see. If you look at if you can zoom that a little bit, go for the last like 10 days or so. There you go. Perfect. Well done. So you see the rise there from $3 to 10 over the course of half of June. I do not like buying into things like this because it can be that's how you get burned, and that's what pretty much the amateurs do. But as I looked at this a little bit more, it's really pretty impressive. So we're going to leave the big board. We're going to go back to Chrome, and I want to show you the Workhorse website just to show you what's going on with this. So they are a last mile type folks. So a lot of EV stuff here. And then of course that is their drone that they have. So what I want to show you is we're going to click on the investors tab, and then you're going to pull up a slide deck, which is at the bottom under download. So once we hit that, you can kind of see this is pretty impressive. As far as that's their EV truck, they have a couple different trucks out there, and they also have a prototype for the post office. So if they get the post office contract, wow. So yeah, changing the way. If you've ever looked at these slide decks, no matter which one you look at, of course, it looks like the best company in the world. So you got to take it with the grain of salt. But basically, they have their van that goes out, and so you think last mile delivery. So where UPS, FedEx would stop at a 1 mile radius of a bunch of packages. So they all dump the packages there, and then Workhorse team takes it the last mile, if you will. So they have the packages in the truck, and then they have their drone delivery system, which pops out the top of the truck. Kind of cool. You can kind of read in here, this is called the Horsefly. So cool name, right? And then let's see. Really they're trying to stand there and be the last mile delivery for these different big companies. So we shall see if they can actually make it happen. Here's basically their timeline. We don't need to go into that. Their EV trucks are, specifically designed for this. They do have different variations, different sizes. And then of course this drone that they have, we'll see. What they don't have here is how does it actually get to you? Does it have to navigate your porch? Does it throw it on the front yard? I think we've seen some funny videos about that. But yeah, how's this really going to play out? That I don't know. We talked about Meritage Homes has the system where you can receive it through a skylight sort of thing. So I don't know. It's very efficient if it works, but if it doesn't work, then what's the point? There's the two trucks. Blah blah blah. Want to get down to their UPS truck. I said UPS, USPS truck. There you go. Look at that guy. There's your truck of the day. So, final request for proposal just 7 months ago. So if they would get this contract for the for the post office, I see the drop it in the chimney. That's kind of funny. Yeah, I don't know, right? Um, so we shall see. Anyhow, cool looking truck. This is again entire EV. So you know, obviously you have more issues than just buying the trucks. You have to have the charging stations and stuff like that. So anyhow, it'd be a huge contract if they actually get it. So that is all we need to go from there. All right, let's go into the next tab over in Schwab. Okay, let's pull up Nike NKE first and take a look. This would be a short thesis based off of missed earnings. So click the gapping down there on the left, see if they have a Nike number. So off 3%, and it's not a huge number, but enough to possibly move the market. Closed at 101, it's sitting down at 98, so that would be something to take a look at. Nike is kind of a powerful name, so it's tough to short, but we'll see if there's a move out of it today. Another gap down, I only see a couple on the big board, so APOG. Apogee Enterprises gapping down barely, 22.50 down to 22. Okay, that's an earnings one. Now I'd be more comfortable shorting this just because it's not a household name, if you will. We'll keep an eye on it. I would like to see it actually get down to that 5 to 6%, meaning there's actually some real selling, and of course the volume's light. But we will. It's something to keep an eye on. Okay, well, looking over at the top 10 volume side. Gapping up. Pull up GPS. This is the Kanye headline. Click on the teams with gap there and see what that actually says. Yeezy apparel. As far as I know, that's shoes, but it's probably more than just shoes. But that's all I hear my daughter's talking about. Disrupting him. He's part of the biggest public relations firm family in the world. So it's kind of it's hard to trust him when you hear these great things. But he did say he was going to run for president in 2020. I don't think he's listed yet. Be an interesting vice president pick, though. Just saying. Okay, so this would be GPS going long. They're up 15% already, so that's pretty significant. I don't like it, but we'll come back and check on it. Tortoise acquisition, Shell. I've been talking with somebody else this morning about this name. So again, huge move up recently. Trying to remember the storyline, and I don't. We talked about it briefly yesterday. If anybody remembers what I said, throw it in the chat because I do not. But it certainly fits our thesis as far as the numbers, and it's got the volumes. So again, this would be a long. It's sitting at 19. So yeah, you could run back up to 20 again. Tough not. So that's Shell long. Tough not knowing the story out there. Okay, let's look at the next tab. Big Lots. Wow, that's a huge move up for Big Lots. Click on BIG. Upbeat forecast. I don't know if I could trust Big Lots up that much. Let's check CAMP. They're also gapping up 17%. I don't know who has that ticker. CalAmp. Not familiar. Okay, not going to touch that one. Back to the board. All right, let's look at the decliners. Yeah, with the market just in the red, that's not it's a good day set up for decliners. Yeah, click on Novavax and see if that's a headline or earnings, or it's got no news out on it. So again, biotech, I wouldn't touch that. Goldman Sachs, obviously a bank. Yeah, pull that up. It's got the volume for it. Big banks down, as the just the headline we already talked about. I do not know if that's going to make a rundown or not. I kind of like the chart selling off. And we'll keep an eye on it. I mean, Goldman's a pretty big name to go into short, but we shall see. It closed at 207. It's down at 200, so that's a few percent. What was it? 3.5% there. So again, we'll take a look at that short. Not much volume on the rest of the stuff. Okay, next tab. Big Lots, Gap, Eventbrite, Tortoise we talked about. Yeah, let's pull up Space. All right, this was the news yesterday. It looks like a continuation, the news yesterday from them getting the contract for to train astronauts. So we can keep an eye on that. That'll be a long thesis. See Callaway Golf there. That's low volume. I wish that was 100,000. It'd be nice to see Callaway up 5% today. Okay, let's go to the last tab. Yeah, let's check out Dynavax. I don't know what that company does. It's a tech company of sorts. So gapping up 8.2 up to 8.67. It's the heart of the envelope, and that stock's been on fire. Look at that. Look at that chart from the past 6 or 7 days. So we'll keep an eye on it again. DVAX, that would be a long. All right, Bed Bath and Beyond. I wouldn't touch that going long here. All right, not much I see off of that. So let's go set up our start setting up our panel, and we shall see. Second successful launch is at Space. Is SPCE. Got it. Thank you. Yeah, you can go long Bed Bath and Beyond all you want. It's right there for you. Okay, one name we didn't look at, I didn't see it until now. I'm gonna just look at it myself. ZGNX, see what that is. ZGNX, all right, that one. Zogenix sounds like a biotech. Okay, FDA approval, oral solution for treatment of what? Seizures, okay. All right, so good news, biotech story again, gapping up from 28 up to 32. So that's a nice gap. So that's an interesting story. We'll keep an eye on that. All right, in the main screen, we got SPY off to the left. Let's set up Nike across the board, NKE on the left, APOG in the middle, and then GS on the right. Grab some water real quick. All right, these are the 3 shorts I'm looking at. Again, Goldman is the Fed headline. Apogee, we don't know why. And then Nike is the earnings whiff. And with the market down over about 0.5% on the Dow, the other ones aren't down as bad. You can kind of see the SPY stop dropping there at least. So well, that's how I will set up. Let's go 1 minute on Nike. So Nike's not a bad entry. If the price holds up here, you'd be able to get in with about a 30-cent stop at the high of the day. Again, you're fighting against a tough name. So we'll take a look at that, maybe 30 cents. Luckin down to $2. That's a nice story. Short at the open, 10-cent stop, out at 30. It'll be 10 minutes for the for in here. So yeah, today's for the Luckin, the short story again. It's not in the news. I don't know why we're not seeing the 33% drop, gap down. Is today they meet with the NASDAQ to see if they're actually going to get delisted or not. So if it does, I think the stock will not drop any further than 2. If it doesn't get delisted, then I think we'll see a significant jump, probably north of 3. So it would be interesting. We certainly aren't going to have that news in the first half an hour. They withdrew the request to for hearing. Okay, let's go FinViz while we got a second here. We'll go FinViz, pull up LK. I'm looking at something real quick on a different screen. Announces withdrawal for its request for a NASDAQ hearing. Click on that, please. All right, reading about Luckin. Okay, so the story on Luckin is they were having a hearing today to see if they would not get to try to plead their case to not get delisted, and they withdrew that. So it looks like they probably will get delisted. So we'll see if that headline comes out today or not. All right, all right, Nike moving higher. Let's see, we got space in the middle. Let's see that. So space long with a 20-cent stop. Let's look at that. Yeah, that should be enough. You could even tighten that, not trying to talk you out of your trade. But yeah, that's the low of the morning at 1591. So that's something right when if you would take it real, if you're taking it with paper, real money, I would manage that stop to put it down at the 15.9 level. So you're just below that. So whatever the math ends up working out with, because that looks like it should hold. So we got space long. How many we got? 3 minutes yet. So space long. You have LK going short. All right, put Goldman Sachs in there, GS. And then put APOG on the left one. Way too thin to call. All right, not in love with it, but I will take Goldman Sachs short. So you can go ahead and put that in there. I'll take Goldman Sachs short with a let's go $2 stop. I think that might have a $6 move in it. So $2 stop, and I will be in at 2 minutes and out at 20. We'll let that cook. All right, Goldman Sachs short, $2, in at 2, out at 20. That is perfect. Yeah, it's interesting watching the Luckin story. I don't know if we'll get I mean, after that move down, that's pretty huge. We shall see. All right, 15 seconds into the open. So are we taking, let's see who's going to be short at the open. So it'll be LK, we'll draw first. There's our bell, so 211. Sorry, yep, 210. Sorry, 210 for the entry. So lower stop will be excuse me, this is a short, so upper stop will be 220. So we'll see if it holds that. Nice move up in Goldman. That'll be a nice setup for a short. Space long, yep, that'll be a good setup for taking that long if it works there. Okay, LK's busted out, but we'll leave LK up there just because I do have it as a long name, so I would like to see that recover. Looks like a big move in space, but it's actually not a huge move sense-wise from 1610 down to 15A. That's really only a 30-cent move. And you have a 20-cent stop. Well, I mean, you're not in it yet, but once you go in, so that's not a huge move. Let's come down. We're going to check the CNBC on the other screen. And about where we opened, slightly lower than where we opened across the board there. All right, so there's the entry, 198.83 or so. That's okay with where that is. And again, that's a short, so my upper stop, 198, I said, so it'd be 199.83. So 199.83 is my upper stop. So that appears to be working. Again, I'm going to let that cook. So a market coming in would help me. All right, looks like 1572 on the opening there. So 1552. So we'd have to be off the chart. So if that chart doesn't move, we shall see. You can see Goldman's at about 0.8R in the green there. So it's a nice move. And again, the market's helping that. If you look off on the left screen, you can see the SPYs coming in pretty significantly. So that's going to help out any short names. Okay, space held there. So really for the setup, it looks pretty good with space actually holding during kind of the big overall market sell-off. So if the market bounces again, that will help yours, help your trade as well. They're a Predator. Luckin, I'm sure they got stopped out and halted due to, let's see, 40-cent move up. That's 20% up in the first 2 minutes. So have to go here to find that. So yep, trading halted and Luckin up 19.7, or excuse me, off 19.7 from the previous close. You can see that in the upper right. But what's actually stopping it out is the move up there. So it hit an upper limit on its way. All right, we're above an R now. We're in Goldman as it sells off. A pretty decent move down there. And again, those look like big stripes. When you look at it, it's moved a little over $1, $1.50. So not a huge percentage wise. All right, you're out at, Predator's out at 10. I'm out at 20. Since Luckin's halted, we'll take a look at the other names. Let's look at Nike short in the right pane. So again, this is a short based off earnings. Look at the math here. So 98.7, that's a dollar move. So that's only a 1% move. So that's not, it looks good, but that's not a 3R move. But it is certainly selling off. GPS was long. I'd be shocked if this, well, there you go. I get to be shocked. So if you were to take the 15 or whatever, 16, 17% move up. It continued to move up. Now it's up 27% from yesterday's close. That's kind of crazy. If you're a fill the gapper, you could short right here. I would not touch gap. Would not touch it at all because that's kind of a crazy move. Let's look at Shell, SHLL. Again, this is long as well. It's a continuation from yesterday. Don't really like that setup and wouldn't touch that. Let's look at, let's see, DVAX was a long, DVAX. So that'd be pretty nice if you took it right away, even if you delayed and took it at 880 or so. 30-cent move. You might have had a 10-cent stop on that, probably 15. So you'd probably need a little more, but at least it's a 2R or 3R move up as that thing continues higher. That'd be one I would not wait on. If I were in DVAX, I would probably wait. If this came back down to 905 or so, I would just kill it and take the profit. So that's called a trailing stop of a 10 cents. Basically, you can either do it with the tools you have available. TradeStation does it easy. But you can put a 10-cent trailing stop. If it ever retraces 10 cents, then you're going to get booted out. I do not like using stops for that reason. I would rather eyeball it and say, okay, now that I'm at 920, if it goes to 910, I'm going to kill this trade. So yeah, I would want to end with DVAX. If I were in it, I would want it to, and then I would kill it right there because it hit my 910. I would want to kind of ride the green as long as there was green, but as soon as there's red, then I would be out. So I would have killed that trade there. All right, Goldman still continuing down. Let's see, is that the bottom stop just got hit on? Nope, that was the entry. Yep, that's the entry point there. And again, that's long. So in it too. So that trade is actually in the green, just not quite, just barely in the green there. Okay, let's go back to the right screen and look at ZGNX. Again, this one came off the street. And that was a long name. Both longs we gapped up a bit too far. Yeah, that's the tough part. Look at this thing is sold off from $3, 10% down move, and it's still up green for the day, right? So that would be a tough one. So if you were to want to do a fill the gap strategy, that would have hit there easy. But obviously anything continuing long would have been problematic. All right, let's put some other faves in there. Let's pull up Hertz, HTZ. Still above $1.50. You see where that's continuously across the board. So this is a good instructive thing to talk about. There is a buyer at $1.50 because every time it hits it, the order's getting filled and it's bouncing higher. So when you see something like this, eventually you will exhaust that buyer. So if you were to short Hertz here, I'd have no problem going in, shorten, add, take the bounce up to 151 if you can get it, and then put your stop up at around 156, so a 5-cent stop. Because once it does break below and you exhaust that buyer, you're likely going to see it just continue to fall. So that's a good way to risk 1R on something that you hadn't even looked at, but you see this exact setup. So I will write that down, 150 with an upper stop of 156. And then it has to drop to 135 to see your 3R. So again, that's when I would just set it and leave it all day long. And there, I just talked about it. It broke through the 150. So we'll see if it stripes down. Generally, once you don't have that buyer there, then it kind of free falls until you run into the next big buyer. So we'll see if it makes a liar out of me. So if you got in at 150, so you'd be already at 1R there on your Hertz trade. So we'll leave that up for just a second. See how the market's going overall. There you go. Made some money there with Goldman, switchology buffoonery. That's never good, but that trade's working. I would not get back in it by any means, but at least from where I took it, it's up a R and a half. All right, see the lower stop, I think we're still okay, 1553. So if you want to put the lower bound in there, see if that holds. Thank you, 1552. All right, you see the big move down in the market. That's a couple of big red stripes there for 2 minutes. Let's refresh here and see what's going on. Doesn't look like a huge change. That's still showing futures. For some reason, CNBC is behind. I've got it over here. So Dow Jones down 1%. NASDAQ down 2/3%, and same with the SPY. So again, that's going to help the short thesis out. All right, my 3R point would be in Goldman, looking to be 195.80. So it looks like it's about to hit that. So I'd be ready to be getting out of Goldman, and I would take that. I wouldn't hold it past that. So if you want to draw that 195.80 in there, again, is the 3R point. So I'll just let that continue to cook. All right, so Hertz did sell off all the way down to 142. I think that'll continue down. Looks like we got busted out on, let me check the entry, 1572, 20 cents. So yeah, space is busted. Let's leave Hertz up there since I called that one live. We'll kill space and go back to Luckin. See if it's trading again. Well, no. The answer is no, it's not trading again. Well, it did, but now it's back out. So it dropped after it got halted for going up. It's now halted to the downside, exactly where it started, right? So at 210. So that's kind of crazy story on Luckin. We'll check back on that. Some other names, Chesapeake CHK is another bankruptcy story. See if that's in the red today. Not too bad, about a 50-cent range there out of the open. Nothing exciting. And let's put in AMC. Again, bankruptcy story. Well, that backed up quite a bit. 40 cents there, 50 cents all the way to the top. So that would not have worked unless you waited for all that to go through and then shorted it up at the top. That'd be a pretty smart play, depending on when you can get the entry. Okay, and then let's look at NKLA. Same thing with that big move up there. That would have pretty much knocked anybody out. All right, and then let's go back to SPCE in that frame. All right, Goldman would have hit the 3R point. So obviously for the purposes of in here, we'll just let that cook out to the 20-minute point. But I'd be out if it were real world. Be happy with that. All right, let's look at the big market and see what's going on. And the names that are up and down in green today in red. Thank you. All right, so let's see, there's Workhorse WKHS. That's a name we talked about earlier. Got that minus R on the space, yep. Let's see, Nicola, we just talked about that. Lockheed Martin, a little bit in the green. These names are less than 1% in the green, but at least they're holding on. And again, Dow's down 1%. Everything else 2/3%. All right, let's look at the ugliness of red and see what we have here. LK leading the pack as the champion, 32% down. Facebook, again, they're getting boycotted by several names due to not censoring politics. So expect that to probably affect the name. Again, that's a long-term name, so I would not be looking to get out of it by any means. But maybe adding if it continues down another 10, 15, 20% in this bad news story. I don't think it'll go down that far. Bank of America, Mineral, Clickstream, JP Morgan. So pretty much all the banks. I saw DraftKings pop up there for a second. CGC is Canopy Growth. That's a marijuana name. All of those have just been absolutely crushed. It's been such a house of pain. All right, we can go back green. And a Home Depot option up front. Don't even see Home Depot on there in the green. Okay, let's go back to our 4 panes and check on our trades. All right, we'll leave that up there while I talk about the concept of beta. So for beta, conceptually, there's kind of theory and reality. So in an academic term, the yeah, we can actually leave. We'll bring up Investopedia here so you can see what I'm looking at. So from a academic perspective, it's used in the capital asset pricing model, which literally the only time I have ever done that is when I've been assigned to by a professor. So it is not something I would not price out Facebook or Home Depot or Apple on a capital asset pricing model. It's completely emotionless. It has nothing to do with best of breed. It's all numbers. So I think it's really an archaic pricing model. But the concept of beta is whenever you think of if the market moves up 1%, and you have a beta of 1, that means you match up with the market. So as you saw in here, you can see now that we have the SPY on the left-hand side, what the weight of the overall market and how that affects individual names is significant. Well, that's what that's measuring. So a beta greater than 1, so say the beta is 1.1, and the market sells off, ends up the day down 1%, your 1.1 beta would be down 1.1%. That also works to the upside. So if it's up 1%, you'd be up more than the market. So really, as you design a portfolio, if I'm into so you think of the 5 scale, you have conservative, moderately conservative, moderate, moderately aggressive, and aggressive. Betas at 1 or greater are in the moderately aggressive and aggressive state portfolios. You don't really want those down in your conservative ranges because you're trying to dampen the overall volatility of the market or the amplitude of the moves, if you will. So that's really how it's used. I do look at it like once when I go into a name and go, okay, that's a 0.6 beta. That's perfect. Say I'm adding a retirees portfolio. I find something with a high dividend, 5% or higher. I want a nice low beta number. So even if the market has a big heart attack, my stock's not going to be affected nearly as much. There are also negative betas. Negative betas are where things move inversely. Those are inverse ETFs are clearly negative betas. And then obviously a gold ETF would have a negative beta with the overall market because markets go down, gold goes up in theory, except in March, right? So anyhow, that's where you would see that. So let's look at the key takeaways. I don't know of anybody that uses it in the capital asset pricing model that isn't in academics. And it does assume a diversified portfolio, not necessarily a focused portfolio. All right, let's scroll down a little bit. There's your calculation. You can keep scrolling. I know you're not going to want to do the math. And then we'll stop here at the beta values. So you see the 4 that I talked about, equal. Means it moves with the market, less than 1, less than the market, greater than 1, greater than the market, and then negative beta value there. So, all right, we can switch back up to the trades, and I'll go through the chat. So you can see, let's look at Hertz real quick. That 1.5 level, when you see a buyer right there, as soon as it gets exhausted. So again, just to cover that again. So if they have a buy order in for 500,000 shares at $1.50. Well, every time the market hits that, it's going to fill that and hold that level. So that's what you're looking for. That's how you're interpreting that chart pattern. Now, it could be a whole bunch of different buyers, but it doesn't matter. It's the same effect, right? If it hits 150, it gets bought. So it stops it from falling. So that's where you want to go in and capitalize on the fact that when it does break that level, it's going to go south. So you protect yourself still in case it backs up, but generally you're just watching that people selling and getting bought there, and then you run out of buyers. So it never did quit. It hit 3R with a 5-cent stop. So it got close again. That would be 135 or so. But that's one of those, I'd probably let it continue on. I don't think it's going to back up all the way to 150 again today. So that's one of those, I'd set the limits, and I would take my upper limit that I got into it at 150 or 151. I'd take my upper limit and put it back to where I'm even, so I don't lose on the trade, and then hit the gym, go about your normal work. Okay, Goldman, we already talked about 3R plus, and then space. All right, let me go to the chat real quick. Yeah, will be interesting. I don't know if that was totaled or not, that Lambo, but 20 minutes out of the factory. That's insane. Yep, fun, sick fun, right? Friday fun. We didn't ever talk about Wells Fargo. Let's put in space in the left pane. Let's put WFC. You'd imagine that this would have sold off pretty hard. And again, it's a hated name. Still hasn't really lived down its transgressions, if you will, but didn't sell off very hard. That's certainly not any R's there. It's only about a 30-cent move at the largest. Okay. Let's put BAC. I think that was a leader in that's Bank of America. So there you would had to take it out of the gate, which I probably would not have. So then there's almost no entry from there. Okay, second successful launch. That must be Virgin Galactic. It must be of something specific because obviously they've had a crap ton of launches. Okay, LK we talked about. Nice money in Goldman. Meant to put the upper limit stop 198. Yeah, you'll the more you do this, you will see some switchology buffoonery, and you'll be the worst part is when you think you have a stop in and you actually don't. And you watch it go rifling right past your stop, and you're like, what? And then the P&L's going deep into the red while you figure out how to switch that to market and just kill it. Okay, all right. Let's look at our question. What does it mean when the NASDAQ will suspend company shares at open of business 29? Is that the headline from LK? Because I didn't see that. I just saw the yeah, okay, thank you for clarification. So yeah, so it's getting delisted Monday. I don't think there's any reason to why not pick a date? It's an open market. So here's what's going to happen. The stock got hit. Let's go ahead and put a LK in the right hand screen, see where it is now, if it's back trading and all that jazz. So yeah, down to $1.50 and it's halted again. So halted up once, halted down twice. So again, it's all over the place. Yeah, I'm going to be a buyer here. There's no doubt. It's obviously not worth zero with 7,000 storefronts in mainland China. So yeah, I'll be buying here as soon as we get off the mic actually, and it opens back up. Okay, so that answers that last question to get a better average price. Now, where you run into is how much of it do you have? You can't let it get to an outsized portion of your portfolio. So, but yeah, you can buy it here. I do not see it going below $1. It's not going bankrupt. It's moving to over the counter. And people may not understand that. That's why it's selling off so hard. Okay, and what does it mean? We already talked about that. So I can't tell you what it means, Burner, other than that's the headline, right? So I'll have to go in and actually say it. But again, in an open market, people don't really care when the headline comes across. So there will be a headline and then the stock reacts. And then people think. So a lot of the algorithms and stuff are built off of headline, interpreting that, and boom, either buy or sell based off it. So anyhow, that's what's going on with LK. All right, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up for the day. Again, for the trade, Goldman would have been out at the 20-minute point, so right there. So 3 and change for the, yep, 3.5 change R for that trade. So that one worked. The others didn't. Again, LK is just kind of too tough to trade. You're thinking a 10-cent stop, and the stock has moved to basically $1. That's crazy. So with that, we will see you guys back on a Monday. Thank you much. Bye.